Hey everyone, what's going on? I hope you're all doing well as usual. Believe it or not, I'm back yet again for the third time this week with another video, and there are a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, this will probably be the last chance I get to make a video for the next couple of weeks, so I just thought I'd get one in now while I have the chance and the material's fresh in my mind. And secondly, the last couple of videos I did, a collection update and a Manowar video, they sort of peaked in terms of views and likes, and they weren't particularly successful, like the number of likes proportionate to the views. So I just thought, okay, they've peaked and time to move on to the next one, basically. So as the Manowar song says, forever carry on. So what I've got for you today is another collection update. The more recent one I did was new items, and today's episode is another edition of bargain bin buys. So albums I've bought from discounted secondhand bargain bins. And as I've said many times, that's always interesting because you get a variety of genres and you may pick up albums that you wouldn't necessarily normally get, but because they happen to be there, and that's how you discover new and interesting music, in my opinion. So 4 albums to talk about today, not talk to. And it's quite a variety of genres. In fact, I think, yeah, 4 different genres, 4 albums, so it's quite diverse, so hopefully people enjoy it. So without further ado, we will get started. So I know that people are more interested in the extreme stuff, so I'll start with that. The first album I picked up is Decapitated with Carnival is Forever. And yes, I can't believe I didn't even read that title before getting this out. Yep, so cool cover art here, first of all. So most of you probably know who Decapitated are. They are a famous Polish death metal band which emerged, I think, in like the early 2000s with their debut album Winds of Creation, which I have heard. That is fantastic. I've got a copied version of that and I remember it being really good. And yeah, so they've been around for quite a while now and a very established death metal band. They've been through a lot of personal trials and tribulations, but the band has carried on. And this is, I'm not even sure when this one came out. I think 2011, so I don't have my reading glasses on. But in any event, it doesn't really matter because this is the first Decapitated album I own. Okay, so yeah, Carnival is Forever, that's what it's called. I like the kind of ritualistic mask on the front. It reminds me of that, what's that series called? True Detective. But anyway, yep, so death metal band from Poland, and this particular one is very different to Winds of Creation. How I would describe this particular album, and I'm consulting my notes here because I have a lot to say, is that it's relentless, fast, blasting death metal with a real wall of sound, and it's got these very sort of screamed impassioned vocals, almost a little bit shouty at times. And on this album anyway, the music is very technical and complex, yet still somewhat catchy. I wouldn't say it's incredibly catchy because it is quite technical. So what I mean by the technical side, at times it can be a bit sort of jumpy and stop-starty, so like, but nowhere near as technical or jolted as, say, a band like Meshuggah from Sweden. But yeah, as I'll mention later on, at times this album really does remind me of Meshuggah. But in addition to that, there are excellent guitar solos and some really sort of standout guitar licks and melodies, so it's interesting. And like I said, the vocals are a bit shouty, sort of in the vein of a lot of Swedish death metal bands, again, like Meshuggah. So you will hear that name pop up a few times. But I would say, even though this band is Polish, overall it has quite a Swedish sound and vibe in relation to certain bands, which I'll mention later. So yeah, I've only listened to this album a few times and it's growing on me. It's sort of a lot to digest and a lot to take in because it is quite complex and technical, like it's not overly groovy or catchy. So yeah, and I pretty much, out of the 8 tracks, I like all of them pretty much, with the exception, which is interesting, of the title track, Carnival is Forever. So that particular song starts with a clean guitar intro followed by a kind of chugga chugga riff, a bit like Meshuggah. So chugga chugga like Meshuggah. And the clean guitar and bass parts are very sort of long and meandering, and they're separated from the sort of heavy stuff. So they're just sort of these like meandering, pointless interludes, I find, like at the beginning and the end and the middle of the song. And it's sort of like, yeah, those clean guitar and bass parts, it's such a stark contrast to the the bulk of the song where it sounds like a jackhammer going off. And yeah, a lot of the chugging riffs get sort of grating and simplistic, like a bit of So yeah, the song also feels quite unstructured, like a jam which has been pieced together. That's what I think about the title track anyway. But I mean, I know a lot of people like it. So but I will say all of the other tracks are really good. Like the opening track, The Knife, is awesome. So is track 2, United. I also really like track 4, which is entitled Homo Sum. That's got some atmospheric melodies laid over the top of the technicality. So yeah, despite the technical nature of the music, there is some melody, there is some catchiness. Track 5, entitled 404 or 404, that's got like a bouncy clean guitar intro with jazzy syncopations and good standout riffs and vocal patterns once the song actually gets going, and also some nice guitar ambience. So I really need to describe these songs in a little bit of detail because they do stand apart from each other. I also really like track 7, which is entitled A View from a Hole. That's got some savage riffs and some nice atmospheric jazzy parts in the middle of the song, as well as some keyboards, you know, for additional atmosphere. And I also like the last track entitled Silence, which has got some atmospheric, an atmospheric clean guitar outro, and it's quite minimalist. So that song, that last song, it's a clean guitar outro in general. So yes, most of the time, this album is very aggressive and technical, but it has these moments, like these bursts of, you know, melody and atmosphere, which makes it interesting. So, do I have any issues with this album? Yes, a couple. I would say the songs are, like I said, they're very technically impressive with some standout moments, but unfortunately, I find that a lot of the time these songs are not too memorable. And after a while, the album starts to sound a bit repetitive, and the songs maybe sound a bit interchangeable, even though there's like short standout moments. And so I feel sometimes when I listen to this, like getting after a bit past halfway, I feel like the album outstays its welcome a bit. And I feel like sort of the point of the album has been made by 2/3 of the way through, and there's nothing else to add other than repetition. So yeah, it can sound a bit, what did I say here? No, yeah, disjointed, the album, I would say. So, and like called me old-fashioned, but for me, technical prowess means very little if there's not a memorable song in it. But like, it is technically very impressive, and like I said, there are enough standout moments to make it a good album, in my opinion. So, yeah, and like I said, I keep comparing this album to Meshuggah, but I would say that it's nowhere near, no offense, nowhere near as annoying as Meshuggah. Like, I'm not really a Meshuggah fan because I find that stuff too technical, too jolted, too stop-starty, and like it's a bit of a headache to listen to. This is sort of copying that style, but not to the same degree, which is good. But yeah, if I had to sum this album up in one word, I would say interesting. So like, I wouldn't say it's brilliant for me, but it's interesting. And I know I don't give numerical scores to albums, but I'd give this like a solid 7 out of 10. So and like I said, it's grown on me, so I think it has the potential to continue to do that. So just show you the cover, which I've done, all of the lyrics here, which as usual I need to spend more time with. Yep, picture of the band, and there is the disc and song titles on the back. So yes, like not the kind of stuff that I normally listen to, but I think it's an interesting and impressive album with the potential to grow. And I would recommend this to fans of Meshuggah, Carnal Forge, and At the Gates. And when I say At the Gates, not so much the melodic aspects, but the more sort of shouty death metal side. So yeah, there you go. Decapitated with Carnival is Forever. Interesting release. Okay. Coming up next, now we're shifting gears to a completely different genre. Okay, this is a band that I discovered thanks to my brother a few years ago, and I'm really glad he introduced me to them. This is Bullet with Dust to Gold. So if you're not familiar, Bullet are a hard rock / heavy metal band from Sweden, and you can basically describe this music as anthemic, fist-pumping, catchy hard rock / heavy metal. So if you like that kind of stuff, you will definitely love this. And it's been said that, just to give you some idea of their sound, their three main sources of inspiration, which you can definitely hear, are AC/DC, Judas Priest, and Accept. So it depends on which album they take more influence from one of those artists than another, but I would say, just to give you an idea, out of those three bands, this album sounds the most like Accept. Particularly the vocals, like the lead vocals, and also like those those sort of chorus-based the group vocal choruses, which Accept has always done really well. But it also has a strong Priest influence, especially with the guitar solos, and the very jagged and metallic riffs overall sound like Accept the most, I would say. But also some of the more mid-paced rocking tracks conjure more of an AC/DC spirit, so like it jumps between those three influences. Yeah, so there are excellent rocking guitar solos, guitar melodies, harmonies, and hooks, which are amazing. And I would say the lead vocals sound the most like Udo from Accept, but maybe a bit more sort of operatic, like whoa, than Udo, so like a bit high pitched, but still sound really good. And the drumming is excellent and punchy, with a lot of good fills, especially when starting the songs, like da 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 da, when they're leading in. It's so brilliant. And yeah, all of this is topped off by great production. It's solid, crisp, and clean, but not overly polished, and you can hear everything really clearly. So this is funny. Like I rarely say this, but for me, all 12 tracks plus the 2 bonus tracks, so a total of 14. All of the songs and choruses are so catchy that you can start singing along on the first listen with some of these songs. And like, because of that, all of the tracks are standouts. I don't really have any favorite tracks because they're all awesome. So the album is an excellent full listen. Now, some may argue that the album is too long because there are maybe too many songs, but is it necessary to have so many songs? Probably not, but at the same time, it doesn't matter because all of the songs are always enjoyable. So the album never feels like it's outstaying its welcome. You just go from one awesome catchy track to the next and just max out the album. And yeah, so all songs are excellent. And the only criticism that some people might have of this album, or like that I might say, is that it's maybe a little bit unoriginal and derivative, but it's so much fun if you like those aforementioned bands like AC/DC, Judas Priest, and Accept. And you have to admit this band is just very good at what they do. So yeah, track 13, like I said, all tracks are really good, one of which is an instrumental, but absolutely awesome. So just show you the front cover here. It's got it's got a real rock and roll spirit, like band traveling on the road, as you can see here, standing on the tour van. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this particular one is a Japanese pressing. So just show you in the booklet, they have all the lyrics and credits in Japanese, as they often do. Like in Japan, they take their rock and metal seriously, so they always translate the lyrics into Japanese. There's the English lyrics as well. And cool J card here with Japanese writing. Is it J card or Obi strip? I'm not sure for a CD. But yep, so all lyrics and photos of members of the band. Yeah. And like, I've only listened to this one actually a couple of times, but I've absolutely loved it the whole way through both times. So I can see myself spending a lot more time with this album. And yep, there's the disc picture of the band. Yep, so very cool stuff. So like I said, it's not overly original. It's definitely going for a particular style, but this band is just very good at what they do, and it's just, yeah, fun, anthemic, fist-pumping hard rock / heavy metal. So I would recommend this, as you can imagine, to fans of Accept, Judas Priest, AC/DC, and maybe Crocus. So there you go, Sweden's Bullet with Dust to Gold. Oh good, I got that right. Okay, coming up to the next album. So shifting gears to like another kind of genre again, I also picked up DOKKEN with Lightning Strikes Again. So DOKKEN probably need no intro to most of you, and most of you will know that I'm a huge fan of this band, especially their 80s material. But DOKKEN is a heavy metal band from LA, and they were sort of lumped in with that hair metal movement, even though I always felt that was misaligned in the sense that they didn't write cheeseball party anthems. You know, it was the songs had more of a serious take and approach in terms of the material they were writing about. Like often the topic was love, which sounds really cheesy, but it wasn't done in a cheesy way. But yeah, this was the album that was released, I think, in the late 2000s, so it doesn't feature the original lineup. But what it was the band returning to their glory days. So like trying to revise the sound of their 80s albums, which are my favorites. So like, just for the record, all 4 albums from the 80s are absolutely fantastic. Like Breaking the Chains, Tooth and Nail, Under Lock and Key, and Back for the Attack. Yeah, see, it took me a while to remember that one because that's my least favorite of the 4, but I still really like it. Yep, so all 4 of those albums are fantastic. And when I saw Razorfist's documentary about this band, I saw an interview with DOKKEN, the vocalist, and he said his guitarist for this album, Joe Levin, not George Lynch. I think Joe Levin was his name. Yeah, oh, John Levin, sorry. Cool, good save there. Yeah, yeah, John Levin said to Don, why don't you go back and listen to all of those old 80s albums and then pick out the elements that you like the most and we'll make an album based on that. So they're sort of revisiting and revising those classic 80s albums on this particular album. So how would I describe this overall? I think it's very good, actually. So it's got a very clean, modern production, especially with the crisp snare drum sound. So you can definitely tell it's not got that 80s production, so that sets it apart a bit. But yeah, in general, especially when you listen to the start of the album, it's got that classic melodic hard rock / heavy metal sound, which Dokken is famous for, including the melodic guitars, catchy hooks, and atmospheric vocals, so all trademarks of Dokken. And there are also brilliant guitar solos in that classic style of original guitarist George Lynch, even though he wasn't on it. So like I said, the lead guitarist on this album is John Levin, but he impersonates George Lynch's style very well. So it's got that classic Dokken sound. And the album starts off really, really strongly. Like the opening track, Standing on the Outside, that sounds like a revisit of the song Inside Looking Out from Dokken's album Dysfunction, the 1995 album. So isn't that interesting? The song is called Standing on the Outside, and it reminds me of the song Inside Looking Out. So I think that is a blatant tribute to that particular song. So I love that song, so no complaints there. Also, track 2, Give Me a Reason. That sounds like a cross between elements of Unchain the Night and Prisoner. So I'm talking about songs from Dokken's 80s albums here. So like Unchain the Night was from Under Lock and Key, and Prisoner was from Back for the Attack. And then track 3, entitled Heart to Stone, that's like a cross between Into the Fire, especially the opening riff, and Unchain the Night. And then track 4 though, sorry my eyesight's bad, called Disease, I think, that's interesting because that's got a modern sort of grungy feel. So they're not going back to the classic 80s Dokken sound there, but experimenting with that grungy sound, but they did do that to an extent on Dysfunctional. So maybe it's a nod to the album Dysfunctional. Now, track 5 is the first sort of spanner in the works, so to speak. So I would say the only bad song on the album, in my opinion, or the song, sorry, more correctly, the song that I don't like is, yeah, so track 5, How I Miss Your Smile. Yeah, look, that song is musically talented, but it's a cheesy, sentimental ballad. And like even the song title, that's a bit corny, I think, How I Miss Your Smile. So, you know me, I'm not really a big fan of love songs and ballads and any sort of sappy, sentimental stuff. So, no, that's not very good for me. But like I said, it's still musically talented. And then, okay, track 6. Oh, track 6, Oasis. So then it gets back into the good stuff. Here, Oasis, not the band, but the actual song. That's very sort of reflective and atmospheric. And then track 7, Point of No Return. Sorry, I thought I saw someone outside. That's catchy and upbeat, quite fast with a good chorus. And then track 8, entitled I Remember. That's kind of a slowish power ballad with acoustic guitars, which is okay. And then track 9, Judgment Day, it's good, it's got a good chorus, again a catchy song. And then track 10, It Means, that's interesting. That song, it starts with a riff similar to that of Unchain the Night, and it also contains some clean, atmospheric, almost Indian or Middle Eastern sounding guitars, which adds to the atmosphere. And there are also great atmospheric vocals from Don. At this point, I will say that like Dokken's voice sounds absolutely fantastic on this album, and they really soar for those atmospheric heights, which is, you know, again, a trademark of Dokken. And that track has a big chorus as well. Track 11, entitled Release Me, that's a great atmospheric track again. And the closing track, sorry guys, I should wear my glasses. Yeah, anyway, the closing track, that's very upbeat and catchy. So, as you can tell, I like most of the album apart from track 5, How I Miss Your Smile. But, you know, one black dot on the entire radar doesn't make it a bad album, obviously. So, my only criticism, once again, is that while this album is generally really good and a reprise of the 80s sound, I feel that it sort of falls off a bit towards the end. So like, I think the first 4 tracks are definitely the strongest on the album. And then from track 6 till the end, it's still good, but maybe just not standing out as much. But however, having said that, I have no complaints. I really enjoy listening to the entire album. It just sort of loses its impact towards the end, but there are still great songs. And like I said, the only track which I really don't like is track 5. So there's the cover, and I'm not sure if I mentioned the album is called Lightning Strikes Again. So again, a tribute to their 80s material, because there was a song called Lightning Strikes Again on Under Lock and Key. Cool iconic cover art on this one. All of the song titles on the back, which I couldn't read because I don't have my glasses. And then here you have the lyrics and pictures of the band. Yep, and there's the iconic logo, which has always been cool. Also, the disc for this one is great because it's, you know, colored picture disc of the same cover design. Yep, so really good stuff. Like, if you're a Dokken fan, especially a fan of their glory days, and you haven't heard this, I would say it's definitely worthwhile checking out, and you will most likely enjoy the majority of it. Definitely. So like, it's not completely capturing the glory of the 80s days, but it's a very good tribute to that sound, and I think overall most Dokken fans will really like it, as I do. So there you go, Dokken with Lightning Strikes Again. All right, one more album to talk about today, and again we're shifting gears again. So like you can see, Bullet is more hard rock, heavy metal. This is more sort of hair metal, so to speak. And the last album, we're going to some prog rock, you could call it, maybe. I also picked up Rush with 2112, and this particular bargain bin buy was a gift bestowed on me by a family member for Christmas, you know, in addition to that Sabotage album that I spoke about recently, so thanks very much. Now, of course, as I've mentioned, I've only got into Rush recently, but I'm slowly picking up some of their albums. So a very famous, legendary Canadian band, sort of famous for blending prog rock with heavy metal, with psychedelic rock and classic rock, you could say. But like, I'm by no means an expert, so, you know, maybe my words are a load of shit, but that's just how I would describe it. But this is considered one of their iconic albums. It's one of the ones from the 70s, when they were still right into that prog era. So, you know, like in the 80s, they went in more of a synth rock, radio friendly direction, which I really did like, actually. So for me, yeah, I'm not the world's biggest prog rock fan, because I find like a lot of that stuff sort of wanders and meanders, but that's the point of it, I suppose. But I did like this band's radio hits a lot. But I would say I've only listened to this a few times, but I really like it. And again, this is an album which has the potential to grow on me, I think. Now, with Rush's music, it's so detailed and complex, and there are so many arrangements to it, it's hard to describe every little nuance. And if I was to do that, we'd be here all bleeding day, so I'm not going to do that. But I will just say, like, overall, I really like this album. It's got a lot of prog moments. Like, the first track is divided into 6 parts, and you know, that's very enjoyable. So it's like told like a story. I really like, you know, that song, The Temple of Spheris. I think, yeah, really, really good song. And like, in addition to that, they've got, you know, just these like sort of somber, slow, melodic moments, and but also like great hard rock elements, great classic rock elements. Geddy Lee's, trademark high-pitched voice, which really suits the music on here. And then there are 5 other tracks after that, which are all really good. So track 4, Passage to Bangkok, that is a really good song. Really enjoy that one. And apparently that was about their journey, to obtain marijuana. I'm not sure. But very good song. The Twilight Zone is good. And I really like the song Lessons, which is excellent. And what was the last one? Something for Nothing is really good. Tears is also good. So, this might sound like a brief brush over for this particular album, but it's so hard to describe. You have to listen to it because there's so much substance to it. But yeah, I would say if you don't mind prog rock, or if you like prog rock, blended with sort of psychedelic rock and some hard rock, in addition to, was there something else? Yeah, psychedelic rock, hard rock. Yeah, you will probably like this. And and classic rock. It's got a very sort of North American classic rock radio sound, which is not a bad thing. It's very melodic, it's very catchy. So I really like this. But again, this is an album that I need to spend more time with to fully digest, because I've only listened to it a few times. But I really like it so far. And even for someone like me who's not really into prog rock, I do enjoy this a lot. So just show you, that's the cover, the back with that iconic star. It's so funny that the band were accused of being Satanists for this, even though the pentagram's not the right way, for that particular accusation. And yep, got all the lyrics here, which are hard to read in this light and with my bad eyesight. Picture of the band there, and looking very sort of glammy and 70s in their cape-like outfits here, which is cool. And yep, just the plain disc. So yes, like I said, this is a remastered version, and it's considered one of Rush's best albums. So a bit different to the other albums I bought, which were from the 80s, but I still really like it. I just need to spend more time with this album, quite a lot more, to fully digest it. But what do you guys think? Do you like this Rush album? I think most people do. It's cited as a classic, so worth checking out if you like those genres that I mentioned, prog rock, psychedelic rock, and hard rock. So Rush with 2112. All right, so that's enough rambling on for me today, guys. 4 albums in, just over 25 minutes. Not too bad for my standards. As I've mentioned many times, that's just my style. I just don't want to say, here's an album, it's good or bad, and then leave it, because no point in doing that as far as I'm concerned. So yes, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, I'm making all these videos in quick succession because I think I won't be able to make one for a good couple of weeks, so you can have a nice break from me. But in all seriousness, I hope you continue to watch, and I really appreciate your support of the channel. So for my next video, I can't promise, but I think I will be doing the Marduk studio albums ranking. So I'm looking forward to that. It's taken a lot of work and a lot of listening, because I want to make sure my ranking is correct. But yeah, that's coming very soon. So back to more extreme metal, black metal next time. So as always, if you have any suggestions, let me know, but I'll stop rambling here and just let you enjoy the rest of your day. So see you in the next one. Cheers, bye.